blessings, beloved. It's your sis Aisha Rahman. Welcome back to my channel. And if it's your first time here, welcome to my channel. I'm your sis Aisha Rahman. Here on my channel, I talk a lot about ancestry, genealogy, genetics, and genetic genealogy. I also talk a little bit about heritage travel and share my own personal journey here on my channel about doing my own genealogy research. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about the importance of doing your family history research, why it's important to me specifically, as well as what you can do when you hit into some conflict with family members or people that don't respect or value it the same way that you do. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into the channel. I do have a couple of notes, but this is also kind of a story time, so it's just very casual. I feel like all my videos are very casual. So hopefully you watched my previous video, which I gave a list of questions that you can ask when you're interviewing your ancestors, when you're interviewing your family members about your family history. So it's become very important to me, especially as all of my grandparents have passed away already. However, I have great aunts and great uncles that are getting up in age, and I'm trying to get answers to questions from them that I wasn't able to get from my grandparents. So for example, my grandfather has a brother that's still alive, but he's getting older in age. He's in his 80s. My my grandmother has sisters that are still alive. They're getting older in age. So I'm trying to get answers to questions from them that I wasn't able to get from my grandparents, and of course of my great grandparents, who some of them were alive when I was younger, but I was a lot younger. So the problem is sometimes you're going to run into obstacles with these family members when you're interviewing them. I completely value people's privacy. I understand it. But I try and explain to them what my intention is, why it's important to me, with the hopes that they will support me in what I'm trying to do and maybe compromise. So some of the reasons to me that doing your family history is very important. First of all, genealogy is like the #1 or #2 highest hobby in the United States. I want to say in the world, but I know definitely for sure in the United States. It is like one of those hobbies that a lot of people do, especially as we get older, we get up in age. I guess it's like an old people's hobby. But I'm seeing younger generations, like my kids, they're in their 20s, that are interested in their family history and their genealogy. They just may not have the time to do the work, but they're interested in learning and having conversations, and they're interested to learn. But one is it really increases your self-awareness and your self-knowledge. It can be small things like passing down recipes. You know, the way that I make spaghetti is the way that I teach my daughter spaghetti, is the way that my mom taught me how to make spaghetti. So things very simple like that is a part of your family history. It's a part of your genealogy. Genealogy is not just your family tree, who's related to who and how they're related, but it's literally, genealogy means your family history. And to me, that means anything. Who's married to who, what traditions have been passed down. It is your heritage, so to speak. Where ancestry is the study of your ancestors, genealogy can be people who are alive now. There's a bit of a difference with your ancestors or ancestry versus genealogy. Totally two different things. But studying your family history helps you be self-aware. It helps you to increase your knowledge about yourself and your family history. Where did you come from? Who's related to who? So back in the day, people would have to do DNA tests to get married. When I got married, I believe it was 1997. When I got married, there was no DNA test done. Now, what if I was related to my husband and I didn't realize it? What if we were distant cousins? They don't do that here in California. But if you're doing your family history, it helps to have knowledge of who your family is, who you're related to, and how you are related to them. Because things like that do occur. We've been divided as a people, we've been spread everywhere. Matter of fact, I recently have been in contact with a cousin here is a follower on my YouTube channel. We are distant cousins. However, what if we were closer cousins and develop a relationship? We're related, we're family, and yeah, I don't do family. So there's also the benefit of health. So a lot of people they're cool with they're doing their family tree, but they don't want to do DNA testing. There's a lot of benefits with DNA testing. You don't even have to do it through an ancestry company. Maybe you can do it through your doctor, but there are health benefits, and there are several genetic companies that will do DNA specifically for health reports. So I know 23andMe is one of them. They really emphasize the health reports and the health information that you can give them. Another one is Genome Link. Another is a company called Nebula. I myself have ordered some of those reports. I've done some through my doctor. I've done some through genetic companies, through DNA companies. So come to find out, there is a very high risk of colon cancer in my family. I found that out not just by asking people about cancer in our family. You know, you go to the doctors and they ask, is there a history of this in your family? But also actually taking a DNA test to verify that there's something in my DNA that makes me high risk of colon cancer. So those are some of the very important reasons why your family history is important. Now, for me specifically, I got really into genealogy kind of by accident. I've always been interested in my family history, to know where I come from. I've never felt quote unquote American, I guess you could say. I never felt like the United States was my home. I've lived here all my life. I don't really know anything else. I've never lived anywhere else. I've traveled and visited Ghana and Sierra Leone. However, I never felt truly American, if that makes any sense. I mean, how can you not feel American when you've lived here all your life and you don't know anything else? But I just felt like there's something missing. There's a hole that's missing. There's some information that I need to know, and I've always desired to have that information and to know, where did my people come from? You know, I know we have some family from New Orleans. I have some family, you know, from Virginia. I have some family from Maryland. But how did they get there and why? Where did they live before that? Looks like my monitor turned off. Where did they live before that? How did they get here? So for example, my family from New Orleans ended up in California because my great-great-grandfather was a longshoreman. He came here for work. But before New Orleans, I didn't know that they weren't always there. I just recently learned that. Before that, they were in Washington, D.C. They were part of the Jesuit plantations, and they were sold and shipped to New Orleans. Had no clue, and I wouldn't have known that if I wasn't studying my family history. So I've always just wanted to know, who are we? Where do we come from before the United States? I've never been a person who thought that my family history started with slavery. I wanted to know, who were we before that? You know, it's like, I use the metaphor, it's as if we were kidnapped, brought to this country. It's like if you take somebody's child, claim them, give them your name, and raise them as your own, and then that child feels like they don't really belong, like something inside of them feels like, I don't feel like I really belong. That's how I felt. I felt like maybe my family had been, and I mean they were, stolen, kidnapped, brought here, raised by some new family, and here you have it. I've never really felt like I truly belonged. Anywho, I digress. So I try and explain to my resistant family members that my intentions are pure. I'm not trying to share your business. I want to know who we are. I respect if you don't want me to share that information with others. I respect if you don't want to share the information with me. So there are some skeletons in everyone's family, I think, and people don't want to talk about, some people don't want to talk about those things. So I like to get information that they are willing to share. Recipes, why did you move? Why did we move here? What was it like growing up? Things like that. Even if you just start with that level, they will maybe open up a little bit. But you have family members who are very uncooperative and are resistant. I have a family member who refuses for me to put their name on a private family tree that nobody else can see. And I think a lot of it is just has to do with technology and the internet. So if I just come to some type of agreement with them is, okay, well, how about if it's written down on paper that it's only going to be for family? They're more likely to be cooperative with that versus a family tree that's online, something that's digital. Now, the other thing that I try to explain to people, especially my father is one of those very private people. He understands the value of it. He's very interested in it, but he's like, yeah, don't be putting my business on the internet. If I even post a picture of my dad, there's another family member in my family that's like a tattletale. It's like, they'll run and tell my dad everything that I do. Like, they're probably going to see this video and be like, Aisha put a video on YouTube. They think, you know, the younger generation tells all their business, posts what they're going to eat on social media. So anytime I post even just my dad's name, he's going to hear about it. And then I'm going to hear about it. And then it's just all bad. Don't put my name on the internet. Don't put pictures of me on the internet. But the thing I try and explain to my family is, your business is on the internet. If you ever have voted, if you've participated in census, if you've filled out an application for your driver's license, it's all on the internet. So there's a website. I'm not going to give it away. You guys might already know. There's actually more than one. There's tons of websites that you can literally look up and get a person. And I use this website for my research. If I'm trying to figure out, okay, how's this person a DNA match to me? They're not responding to me. They're not responding to my comments. They're not responding to my messages. I will stalk you. So if you relate to me, no, I am stalking you. There's a website where you can go get their address. You put in their name. You can put in their email address. You can do reverse phone number lookup. And it'll tell you all the places that they've lived, all the people that done live with them, their email addresses, their social media. These are public information. These are public records. People can opt out, but you can't opt out of every single one of these websites. It's public information. Now, people that are alive have the right to be private. But once a person has passed away, your information is public. So, for example, if I make a family tree and I make my father private, but his mother has passed away, all you have to do is look up her information to find out who all her children are. So I just feel like people are a little, I don't know, they're a little uncooperative when it comes to these things. Is with technology, your business is on the internet. If you have a bank account, your business is on the internet. My uncle does not like to do online transactions. He doesn't do Amazon or anything like that. He will not put a credit card in online. And I'm like, your bank is connected to the internet. Like, I can tell you all your business. I can show you all your information. And then when I show them this, they're like, oh my gosh, how do I get rid of it? How do I get them to take it off? You can get them to take it off, but there's 100 more that are out there that are going to pop up. So my advice is be respectful, share your intention, let them know you mean no harm, and maybe try to come to some compromise. I've had a subscriber here on YouTube say, you know, my family is willing to give me information, but they don't want me to record it. They don't want it audio recorded. They don't want it video recorded. They don't even want me to take notes and write it down. And I would say, remember it as best as you can and be respectful of them. However, write it down. Write it down when you get home, because that person eventually is going to pass away. And I try and explain to my father, this information is not just for you. It's not about you, really. It's about our whole entire family, who we are as a people. We are traditionally an oral people. We aren't people that write things down. We are a kind of storyteller. Let me tell you this about your grandmother, your grandfather, and then you pass that down. But say, for example, what if that person doesn't have kids? That information dies with you. And I think that it's very important to realize, and you can even document your history and who you are now and preserve that for your children and your children's children, your grandchildren or whatever, because one day we are also going to be ancestors, and you want that legacy, that lineage of who we are to be, it's gonna be valuable to your children and their children. I guarantee it. Kids always have questions about their grandparents. There's gonna be things that you wish you would have known. I'm just now learning that one of my ancestors fought in the American Revolution, fought in World War I, And I was taught, about these things in history in high school. I just was never interested in them because it didn't apply to me. I just felt like this is some old white dude's history. It's not really relevant to me. But as I studied my genealogy and my research and got the full picture and the full truth that they don't teach you in school is our people participated in these wars. They were on the battlefields. They were on, the grounds. And that's a big deal to me. That's something to be proud of. And when you have information like that you can pass down to your kids, it motivates them and it inspires them about who they have the potential to be. There's a saying that I'm gonna butcher it. A house without a foundation crumbles to the ground, or a tree without roots dies. Is very true. Is having your family history as an adult, even I won't even say as a kid, it's very self-empowering. It's very self-validating. It's like, oh, my people did this, so I know I can also do great things. And I would say just try and express that to the people that you're interviewing, the people that you're questioning when you're doing your family history. The other thing you can do is just kind of be sneaky about it. Is just slide it into conversations and then write it down or document it some type of way later on. Just try to remember what that is. So I have conversations with my mom all the time about our family history, and as she starts to talk about it, she remembers other things that she didn't even realize that she knew or that she forgot. And so I've said, oh, I need to sit down with you and kind of record these and document these things. My mom doesn't necessarily fear that I'm going to share her information or that it's private. She just doesn't like to be recorded. So I can say, okay, mommy, I'm going to record you audio only, not video. She's more comfortable with that. So there are ways to document your family history and get around those uncooperative, reserved, private family members that don't really see the value in it. And then I hate to say it, but one day they're going to pass away and that information will be available. So I would say get as much of their story that they're willing to share now, and the other information will eventually be available because there's census records, there's vital records, which is public information once you pass away. So my uncle passed away a couple years ago. All of his military records, all of his information is online. He was one of those very uncooperative people. My uncles are like, yeah, no, I'm not taking a DNA test for you. Don't write nothing down. We can talk about it, but that's as far as they'll go. They're like, yeah, nah. But eventually they're going to pass away, and I can just write down what I remember our conversations being about, and then kind of fill in the holes with the information they were not willing to give me themselves. I don't know. It's hard when you have a goal and people don't really value that the way that you do. But I also try to remember that it's not just for me. My ancestry, my DNA testing, my Sierra Leone citizenship, all this information that I'm gathering, it's not really for me. I mean, I'm benefiting from it, but it's a legacy. It's, it's like planting a tree. I'm going to plant this seed that's going to grow that I might not even see the benefits of it in my lifetime, but it's going to be passed down from generation to generation. And, I have grandkids, but maybe their kids will benefit from, the research that I'm doing and the things that I'm learning now. They'll be able to say, Jetta T did this research and she was the first person in our family to go back to the continent and got citizenship. Like that, I believe, is going to be very, very empowering and an amazing story for my grandkids and my great grandkids to have. All right, guys, that's it. Life is good. Have a blessed day.